That's the sound of relaxation and tranquility. Hello again, and welcome back to another episode of Wisconsin's Outdoor Explorer podcast. I am your host, Jason, and central Wisconsin is a really beautiful place to live. It offers a lot of variety when it comes to geography. It's full of farmlands, forests, and a variety of small lakes. It's a great place to live. There's a lot to do in central Wisconsin, and it's a place that I have been born and raised and grew up in, and it's an area that I've loved so much that I decided to build a home here and still live in central Wisconsin. But if there's one thing that I've learned from being one of Wisconsin's outdoor explorers, is that this state has a lot of great places to visit and see. And one of the places that's quickly becoming one of my favorites is one that's pretty unique to only a few of the 50 states. And if you travel from north to south, you'll see some of the most beautiful areas of the state on one side and a great lake on the other. The shores of Lake Michigan are often overlooked as a vacation or a sightseeing destination. Now, don't get me wrong, there's Door County that's right on Lake Michigan and got all the great lakefront in Milwaukee. But what I'm talking about is those in-between areas. Those areas from Milwaukee north up to Door County. I don't want you to dismiss those areas. There are great spots all along the coast for you to stop and enjoy the peace, calm, and tranquility of Lake Michigan. And recently, my wife and I just took some time away from our everyday lives and spent some time in Algoma. And for those that are regular listeners, you know that I took a weekend off, and that was where we went. We went over to Algoma. And for those that are unfamiliar with where Algoma is, it sits just south of the Door County border, and it's right on the shores of Lake Michigan. When we decided where we wanted to go for our getaway this year, we really put an emphasis on finding someplace along Lake Michigan that we wanted to go and stay. It all kind of started a little over a year ago. I had a friend of mine get married down in Racine, and they happened to get married right on the shores of Lake Michigan. They had borrowed a friend's house, and they ended up just a few feet away from the lake where the wedding reception was held. And both my wife and I just really fell in love with the idea of having a house on the lake. Now, I understand that there's a lot of lake houses in Wisconsin. There's a lot of small lakes throughout the whole state. In fact, we have more lakes in Wisconsin than Minnesota does. So we can kind of laugh at them when they claim that, they're the land of 10,000 lakes, because we have more. And we all know the advantages of living the lake life, how calm and quiet it is, and how you can walk out and hop in your pontoon and head out and go fishing, or, if it's the middle of winter, you can walk out and just go ice fishing. And there are a lot of great things about lake life on the inner part of the state. So we really do understand what that lake life is. But Lake Michigan just offers something so different. Like, it's got a life of its own. Lake Michigan really does have a life of its own, and it's constantly moving, and the waves are always crashing in. This isn't the first time we have seen the lake. We have seen the lake before in different areas of the state, but this was the first time where we really kind of experienced Lake Michigan in a home setting. It just kind of crept into our head a little bit how kind of lucky these people were to be living along the lake, and hoping that they were appreciating really what they have. And talking to the homeowners at the time, they did. They knew that they were living in a very special place, and how unique it is to Wisconsin, and they truly appreciated living on the lake. It was our goal this year, for when we went away, to find a little place on the shores of Lake Michigan. Now, the thing about taking a late fall, early winter getaway is you're completely missing the tourist season. And we knew we were close to Door County, which, for those of you that have been to Door County in the summertime, it is a busy place. So we knew we were going at a time when tourist season was all but over, and even some of the shops around there were starting to close their doors. And the thing is we're usually okay with that. When we like to get away, we like the quiet, the peace, we're not crazy about the crowds. We've dealt with crowds and stuff, but we like to just get away. And knowing that there's not going to be a lot of tourists there, I always think we get a little better feel of the towns that we visit and the areas that we visit, because they're kind of more relaxed. They know that the tourist season is over, and the people that are coming now, they can actually talk to them and spend a little more time with them, and it's a lot different experience. So if you've gone to some of these places as a tourist during their peak times, go back again when they're not so busy, because there is a little bit different feel to it. You get a little bit more, like I said, relaxed feel, and you can kind of take it all in a little bit more and really appreciate the areas that you were in. That was what we really experienced in Algoma. Was we were able to really take it all in the few days that we were there, and we were really able to take on the shores of Lake Michigan and just take the whole lake in for what it was, and not have to worry about the heavy tourism, or you know how it is when you're trying to take a picture of something and everybody else is doing the same thing. You feel like you're kind of rushed. So we were able to take our time, and that was really important to us. So again, try these off-peak times to go visit some of these places, because they are really, really kind of a different experience that you'll get. So on this trip, our goal was to get as close to the lake as possible. And we knew that wasn't going to happen with a regular hotel room. So we decided for the first time to try an Airbnb. And it was actually kind of cool. We found one in Algoma that was literally probably 50 yards from the shore. I mean, they had a patio door, you walked right out, and you could see nothing but water for miles. For us, this was the exact perfect thing we were looking for. The only downside was the weather wasn't really great. It was very overcast, it was kind of windy, it was kind of cold. But because of that, we got to kind of see the personality of the lake a little bit more. We got to hear the crashing of the waves and really see how the lake reacts as the weather changed in the few days that we were there, which was really neat. And for somebody who lives in central Wisconsin, had never seen or experienced before. So we didn't let the weather stop us from enjoying a little bit of the lake life, as you'd call it. One of the first things we did was, one of the mornings, I kind of probably was getting on my wife's nerves a little bit, but one of my goals was to try to get a sunrise coming on the lake, because again, central Wisconsin, you don't see that. You don't get to see the sunrise on the lake. And I follow a lot of photographer friends on Instagram, and kind of jealous sometimes of how beautiful their images are of seeing the sun come up on Lake Michigan, and maybe have, a lighthouse in the picture as it is coming up. But the first morning we were there, the clouds were not cooperating. The sun was hidden. We knew the sun was up, but you couldn't see it. So that was kind of a failed attempt the first day we were there. But, we made the best out of it. We decided that it was a perfect day to go and try out the boardwalk that is along the Algoma shoreline. And again, this was a really cool experience. It wasn't busy. It was pretty quiet. Now, again, the weather wasn't great. It was a little cool. It was a little windy. But that just kind of added to the whole atmosphere of walking along the lake shore and just hearing the waves crash and hearing them come and slam into some of the man-made barriers that were there. And obviously it was something kind of cool, because there were more people there than what we thought would be there. And I'm thinking most of them lived in town, because they would just drive their cars up there and watch the waves crash for a while and leave. So there's something kind of special about Lake Michigan when it has a little bit of that attitude, I think, that people want to experience that and want to take it in. So we made sure that as these waves were crashing and coming to shore, that we took more than a few moments just to sit and observe and just to kind of take it all in. So we started our walk on the boardwalk at the Tourist Information Center, where it all kind of starts. And we walked to as close to the lighthouse as we could on that side. We had to cross over a bridge to get to the other side so we could really get close to the lighthouse. But on this day, our goal was just to walk along the boardwalk, take it in, and really just enjoy the moment and enjoy the lake as much as we could. And on our walk, we noticed that the beach had a lot of driftwood and debris along most of the shoreline. And we later found out that the week before, they had suffered a pretty good wind and wave storm that brought up so much debris that they actually had brought in machines to clean up the beach area the weekend before we got there. But, we didn't know any better. It still looked like a beach to us. It looked like what we thought it was going to look like. And it just kind of added more character to the whole thing. It kind of made us imagine a little bit what the beach would be like during the summer, because I'm guessing during summer months, this whole beach area is just full and there's probably people everywhere. And I'm sure the little town of Algoma is just a booming little town at this time. Again, it was nice to be there during non-peak times so we could take our time. We could enjoy it. We were bundled up and there was no soaking in the sun, but Lake Michigan was still kind of a pretty cool experience for, again, not living there or being there. We spent a couple days exploring the Algoma area, taking as much of the lake as we could. On our last day there, I was finally able to get a little bit of a sunrise. It was still a little bit cloudy. They were broken up enough that you could really get a nice sunrise, and I was able to get the drone out and fly the drone above Lake Michigan for the first time. And the lake was so calm that morning, and it was a great way to end our little stay there. And even though it was still a little cooler out, we decided that we had to take full advantage of it. We grabbed some chairs and sat out by the beach and just sat quietly and listened to the lake. And it was a really special time. It was just a really relaxing, really kind of great time to focus. And I got to say, for those of you that live on the shores of Lake Michigan or Lake Superior, I'm a little bit jealous, because that is a really special thing, to be able to live there and be a part of the lake and just hear how the lake talks to you in a way through its waves and how it reacts to the weather and changes and how it can change so quickly. That is really something special, and it's something that a lot of us, and even for ones who live on lakes in the inner part of Wisconsin, they don't experience that kind of stuff. If you live on Lake Michigan or Lake Superior, consider yourself really lucky, because that is a very special place to live, and there's not a lot of room along the lake shore, so really cherish that time you do get out there. We only stayed a few days, but our love for Lake Michigan grew with each day, and living in a state that offers not one, but two shores to our Great Lakes is really special and shouldn't be taken for granted. We all know about the hot spots for tourism, places like Door County, Milwaukee. They're great and highly recommended, but there's something special about these small towns along the shoreline. They have something to offer you that you might not think of. I mean, there's lighthouses that are just begging for their pictures to be taken, and places like Algoma offer these great boardwalks so you can see the city on one side and have a great lake view on the other. If you haven't been to a big lake, you need to get there. You need to experience this. I know there's opportunities that you can take charter fishing boats and stuff, and if you're into that, you need to experience that. That's something that I think if you're a big fisherman, you need to get out there and you need to try doing a little fishing on the lake. I think you're really gonna enjoy that experience too. And just being close to that lake is really something special, and there's just something special about Lake Michigan. We've all enjoyed time on one of the many lakes in the state, but Lake Michigan is a completely different body of water. It really does have a feeling or attitude about it, and the only way to see that is to experience it as you head out to be one of Wisconsin's outdoor explorers. Before I go, I want to say good luck to all the hunters out there, and thank you for listening. And if you haven't checked out our Facebook group, make sure you get out there and check that out and get a conversation started about anything Wisconsin outdoors related, whether it's the podcast, whether it's a place you like to visit, whatever it is. Check out the Facebook group and let's connect and let's start growing Wisconsin's Outdoor Explorer. Thanks again for listening. I'm your host, Jason, and I'll talk to you again next week. Thanks for listening to the Wisconsin's Outdoor Explorer podcast. For more great information about being an outdoor explorer, visit our website at wisconsinsoutdoorexplorer.com. Be sure to check out the blog page and follow us on social media. And don't forget to subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.